Possibly my favorite of the flying wyverns, because again, I have kind of played Frontier first before anything, so I guess I'm a little biased here. Gurenbuzuru has got to be one of the most interesting flying wyverns, or one of the most interesting creatures in Monster Hunter. You see, it's a predator that protects herbivores and likely eats other monsters intentionally, meaning that it's a formidable, very, and I mean very formidable creature in its own right here. Now, let's actually talk about the reasons why this could actually be possible. Now, the reasons why Gurenbuzuru is so aggressive and likely known as the Barbarian monster, we also have to look at his territory, which is on the highlands and the forest hills. Now, you see, Gurenbuzuru's personality, or at least behavior, is described to be a highly aggressive monster. However, after further research, it's seemingly not the case, as we also know that Gurenbuzuru has a distinct fondness for the herbivores of the region. And here's the thing, right? There's only one thing common in these regions that actually has Gurenbuzuru very hostile towards other predators, and that being waterfalls and water sources. Now, in terms of the herbivores, it would definitely protect. For the highlands, there are herbivores like Baruku, which is basically a giant bison. Obviously, Monster Hunter creatures are much bigger than ours, so it's basically a fang beast, but for the bison lineage. And then we have the Kelby of that region, that being the Erup. So both of these herbivores are under the protection of Gurenbuzuru and actually go to it for protection, which is actually pretty interesting. Then we have the forest and hills region, right, which has a lot of water. Again, keep note of that, and has herbivores like the Aptonoth, Bullfango, and the Malinx. Now, all these herbivores are actually vital towards the environment, as again, they do produce, dung and feces, and also help regulate plant matter and even release, plants into the ecosystem via either their dung or them pretty much devouring plants that kind of just need to go, allowing new ones to kind of come in. And then there's Bullfango. Now, Bullfango may not be a herbivore worth protecting because, again, they are pretty hostile towards anything. So this one may be off the menu. And then there's Malinx. While they are not herbivores per se, they are a creature that would likely go to the, Gurenbuzuru for protection. So now that we establish all the herbivores there, why is Gurenbuzuru pretty much protecting them? Now, this is actually pretty important because we don't see these kind of symbiotic relationships very often in our world. So the best comparisons we really have to go by are from Monster Hunter itself. You see, there are plenty of symbiotic relationships that are within the Monster Hunter world, and some that pretty much have theory or merit. You see, the problem with the whole, or sorry, no, not the whole problem. The whole thing with Gurenbuzuru's habitats is that he loves waterfalls. He's able to regulate and even purify water systems. This is actually important because this means Gurenbuzuru may actually have the ability, or has an ability, that allows him to basically clean out water systems, thus giving not only clean water but allowing for plant life to essentially grow and fertilize, which would allow for herbivores to come into the region and then nourish and garden those plants. Essentially, it's just a giant gardener. Now, we also have symbiotic relationships with Monster, like I said earlier. You see, Gammoth will protect the Popo herds if it has calves, and this also means that they'll defend the herd from the likes of Barioth, Tigerex, Blangoga, Great Baggy, and if they ever share the same region, Goss Harang. Now, we also know Gurenbuzuru will do the same thing. However, I think that it may have a lot more in common with the likes of Baroth in terms of its habits rather than the likes of Gammoth. You see, Baroth will actively protect water holes, or at least watering areas, from other predators, such as things like Rathians, Gerotoduses, especially Gerotoduses, because again, Gerotoduses are a very big threat to their young, and likely even other, hostile predators, or even maybe, other Diabloses or younger Diabloses that try to, go towards this water source, could actually meet a very quick end by a Barroth or get ran off by it. So Gurenbuzuru also might have these kind of habits, but they also may share the same breeding habits. You see, Barroth are known to nest in these watering holes as well, and pretty much the bigger the area, or the more rich the area has, the more females, or the more likely they are to get a mate. And this may have the same habit as Gurenbuzuru, with Gurenbuzuru basically fending off any competitors, or basically making sure it has the best water regions in order to get a female. So the female may choose to lay her eggs here, or basically will mate with that male from that region, and then proceed to, well, have its offspring, and the male and female both take care of it until a certain age. And keep in mind, this is the same thing that happens with Barroth as well. Now, in terms of other creatures it really fights, or the creatures that it fights in general, the first one we have is Porbu Dormammu. Now, Porbu here is actually a predator, and they're actually been seen fighting against Gurenbuzuru for territory. However, for Porbu's case, it's trying to eat Guren, because this dude literally has no qualms about eating the likes of Hajuki, as I stated in my previous video, or my, ecology video for Hajuki. He would have no problem eating it. But again, Hajuki's evolved anti-predator defenses that Porbu would not be able to really get by without really being able to, get sound blast off. And Gurenbuzuru is likely capable of not only flying around Porbu, but absolutely beating it as well. So this means Gurenbuzuru may have some type of Elder Dragon level range of strength as well. Then we have Quarpesu. Now, this is actually pretty interesting, because we see them fighting in the more highland regions, or my bad. Yeah, that's definitely the highlands. And, well, this actually may be a case of Quarpesu getting too close to its territory. It's also a Leviathan, meaning, again, they do have some sort of connection with water. And again, it does depend on the storm or the weather conditions. I do think that because of the weather conditions, I think that Gurenbuzuru may actually prey on Quarpesu. And again, this may have to depend on the weather, but again, a monster attacking another monster for food is really not so out there. As again, we know Barroth will attack Bonboro, or even attack other predators and even eat them if it gets the chance. Same thing with Tigress. So believe it or not, Gurenbuzuru not only uses the waterfalls for breeding habits, in my opinion, but also protects the herbivores, because they can actually enrich its environment, meaning that it could get a female a lot quicker and then proceed to raise its offspring alongside that female, just the same way Barroth does. Now, Barroths are aggressive towards their watering holes, but that is because in the old world, there were very few. However, in the new world, they're actually toned down a bit, because again, the water sources are just more enriched. So Gurenbuzuru may actually be able to defend the herbivores from a lot of predators, and in turn it will eat the predator for its own food. It may also eat other things like fish and monsters that may threaten, or aquatic monsters as well, but we know it will kill and eat other monsters just in general. But aquatic monsters like fish, and maybe even hammerheads as well, if they are in the rivers and streams that it pretty much protects, and maybe even the carcasses of herbivores, because again, food is food. But at the end of the day, this is all I really got to say about Gurenbuzuru. I love this monster. I think he would be perfect in wilds for the Scarlet Forest, but only time will tell. But you guys have a blessed day.